had to make sure which one it was first. No, you're fine. What am I signing? This one's mine. Well, what's that one down there? Oh, okay. No? Okay. It's okay. I'll get one. It's okay. Welcome to City Council meeting, everyone. Sorry to be a few minutes slow starting. Have a few things going on today. So let's see. Let's start out with an invocation. We have Lieutenant Saul Smoke here from the Salvation Army and newly assigned to his duties. And so welcome. Just introduce yourself and then proceed. Please say a prayer for us.
My name is Saul Smoke, Lieutenant. We've been appointed here from Salt Lake City to start up or continue the work here in St. George to try to figure out what we want to do in the city for social services, try to expand the church, and try to help the community the best we can. So we'll be here hopefully for the next 4 or 5 years in this gorgeous city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you first and foremost for allowing each and every one of us to let our feet hit the floor this morning, Lord. Let the air hit our lungs, and let us just enjoy this beautiful day that you've given us, Lord. I ask that you be with this meeting today, Lord. I ask that you continue to be the center of the city, continue to be the center of all the different things that are happening in this, the visions, the things that are happening in the growth of this city, and just thank you so much for blessing each and every one of us today. I thank you for allowing us to be here and just be a part of the direction that the city wants to go in and having a voice in that, Lord. Thank you so much for allowing that. Thank you for this beautiful country, and I just want to ask that you please be with those families that are in Florida, Lord, and just wrap your hands around these people, Lord, and give them direction and give them hope and let them know that you still care and love them. We love you and we honor you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Lieutenant. All right, so I've asked the Cub Scouts from Pack 492, Councilman Hughes, gave them a little tour and some education on city government. Is that right, Jimmy? We tried. You tried? Okay. Are these young men that live around you somewhere?
They live down in my area, but they're not necessarily right in my neighborhood. So, but you know what? A Cub Scout's a Cub Scout, no matter where you are.
That's right. So I've asked them, led by Jade Hafen and also Hunter Rogers, who is a first-class scout. I've asked Hunter to lead us in the pledge, and I'd like the other Cub Scouts to come with Hunter. So if you all come up now to the podium there. Yep, all of you, and any other Cub Scouts or Scouts that are here. All right, Hunter, just get cozy right up to that microphone, Hunter, so we can hear you, and tell us what we need to do.
Will the audience please rise? Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, before you go, hang on a second, Hunter. One more thing. Come back up here. We just have to grill you for a second. So tell us your names. I already spilled the beans, and this is Hunter Rogers, right? Mm-hmm. Hunter, you're working on actually your what? Life even, star and life?
Yeah.
All right, citizenship in the community. All right, you're off the hook for a minute, but stay there. All right, next, Cub Scout. Who's next? Weeblos? Jade, go to the microphone and just tell us your name and what you're working on.
Hello, I am Jade Hafen, and I am currently working on just getting my Arrow of Light in Scouts.
Excellent. Okay, next.
I'm Jacob Scott, and I'm also trying to get my Arrow of Light.
Very good, Jacob.
I am Riker Taylor, and I am also trying to get my Arrow of Light.
Excellent.
I'm Corbin Brown, and I'm also trying to get my Arrow of Light.
Awesome.
Great job, you guys. Now, before you go, Jimmy, what should we have them do?
Oh, jeez.
Don't you think they'd all know the Scout law?
You guys know the Scout law? I forgot. Yeah.
You can. These guys will help you. Okay,
I've-
so turn around, why don't you?
Yeah. We'll help you if you need
We'll
help.
help you, okay? Because Jimmy, well, most of us up here know it. We've done it a few times. Dr. Booth will help you too. Okay, ready? A Scout is loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent. What else, Dr. Booth? Hungry. Yep. See, I knew he'd know that. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, you're free to sit down, stay as long or as short as you want. You got to stay a little bit so you can get credit, right? All right.
Great job, guys.
Perfect. All right, let's see. Next, council, before we have Adam go through kind of take us through the agenda, I'd like to skip down a little bit to number 5A, if we could, if you see what that is. I would like to, first of all, before we actually take a motion for that, I would like to introduce our new city manager to all of you, Adam Lenhard. Wave your hand, Adam. And this is his first regular council meeting. We actually held a work meeting on Tuesday for a budget retreat. But Adam, his first day on the job officially was last Thursday. And so we want to welcome him as the new city manager, straight from Clearfield, Utah. And he knows St. George. He's done his homework. He's ready. He's just going to be a wonderful new city manager for, I'm sure, at least the next 41 years. Right? So, but even more importantly, we want to introduce his family, who are sitting right here on the front row. So, Belinda, do you want to bring the kids up to the microphone and just introduce everyone? Maybe have them stand so that the audience can see him as well, if you want, if that's okay.
So I'm Belinda. This is Kennedy, our oldest. She's 14. Noah right here is 12. We have Ellie, or Elliot, over here who is 8, and then Bentley, who is 6. And we're very glad and excited to be here.
So stay there for a minute, and Adam, you need to go down with them. Just got a couple goodies for you. So, each get a water bottle. This is for our new bike share. And so inside those water bottles, there are some tokens to ride the train when it's working. We're saying it'll be working soon. Not this weekend. Sorry. But when you come again, it should be working. Those are 2 tokens so you can ride the train. And a few things tucked into there. Might be able to get you dinner together sometime this weekend. And Michelle's homemade treats. So everyone, welcome to the Lenhart family. We really appreciate all of you, the family, Adam and Belinda, for your supporting your dad. We know this is a big move, especially Kennedy, maybe for you as a 14-year-old, right? It's a big move. But we promise you it's a good place to be. You're going to love it. We'll take good care of you, okay? And so are your great family. So we look forward to getting to know you better. And now, council, I'd entertain a motion to that would be approving a resolution appointing Adam Lenhard as the St. George City Manager.
So moved.
Second.
You have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty. Any discussion on the motion? Council, feel free to make a few comments if you want.
Just a wonderful addition to the city. I can see the resemblance over there, Adam, and your children. Beautiful children, beautiful family, and we're glad to have you here.
And certainly has lowered the average age of this group, so that's awesome.
We are very excited to have Adam here. I think he's going to be a great addition to our city. We're excited to meet his family, And Kennedy, there are cute boys that are 14 here. Your dad won't want to hear that, but there are.
Jimmy, any?
Yes, welcome to you guys, and yes, I'm no longer the youngest person on this bench. Thanks, Adam. Making me old. But we're really glad that your dad's here, and we're really glad that you guys are here too, and you're going to really like St. George. So, welcome.
And also welcome. I spent a little time with Adam, and I'm just thrilled.
Thank you, everybody. And, you know, you should know this is kind of an interesting thing. Let's just take a poll here. Of those sitting up here, how many of us were born in Washington County? Okay. All right. How many of in the room here were born in Washington County? Wow. Oh, there's a few more. Way to go, guys. Wow. How many of them were delivered by Dr. Booth?
One.
Hey! Might have been a chicken or, yeah. Very good. Well, so we have a motion and a second. We've had some fun discussion. Again, welcome you, Adam and Belinda and all of your family. All in favor of the motion, starting with Betty, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. I vote for it too, even though I don't get a vote. Congratulations. Thank you. The motion carries. I just feel like we could all go home now, but we do have a meeting.
Second.
Was that a motion? All right, just a couple other things as we get started here. First of all, we will not be hearing, I just want to mention this, number 3B, council, and also any in the audience. We will not be doing that today. Is that correct, John? Did I get the number right? That will be put off to another time. If any of you are here for that item, 3B, don't wait around for it because we're not going to be able to do that tonight. Were there any others that we were not going to do? Oh, the addendum. We were not going to do the addendum staff report 6I, council. We're putting that off till a future meeting. I think they needed some additional information. So, next, I just want to mention kind of one last thing, kind of pre-written agenda. Well, not really pre, but we have with us, again, the Dixie State University elementary ed. Is that right? Elementary ed teachers. These are student teachers, or they will be shortly. They're here on kind of a social studies track, I guess. And there's a bunch of you. Raise your hands. How many of you are? Look at that. And we need you, so thank you. Please stay if you can in Washington County. So this is Dr. Murray. Raise your hand. She's the constant. She's in charge. And I just have to mention that this is how small the world is, folks. Gareth McMillan, raise your hand. I knew Gareth in Durban, South Africa when he was 6 years old and I was 20. And I was there for a couple years and had dinner in his home. And he is a stonemason, and now he's going to be an elementary education teacher, right? So isn't that awesome? In fact, he did a lot of the stonework around the hospital. That's where I ran into him when he was he did that too, the tower. He does a lot of the stone. He worked with Lily White for a time, Paul Lily White. Still do. Okay. So listen to that accent. Talk some more. See? Isn't it great? Yeah, it's wonderful to see you all here. Thank you, and thank you for being teachers. We're very grateful. Okay. Christine, have I missed anything? I don't think I have. So let's go on to our agenda. I would like to, if we could, move one other item up. Let me see if I can find the right one, Adam. The flagpole.
6C.
6C. Dr. Booth said he needed to go deliver Jimmy's wife is having a baby soon. Is that right, Dr. Booth? Okay, all right. Surprised, Jimmy?
I am surprised. But I'll take it.
So let's see, 6C, who's going to be presenting that one? Ray? This is just a cool thing. So.
Item 6C consider approval of a conditional use permit to place a 100-foot-high flagpole on city property near an existing water tank at the top of Main Street near Brooks Nature Pond. So here's the vicinity map, here's the water tank, and the arrow's pointing to the approximate area, which is about right here. Here's Brooks Nature Park for reference. And X marks the spot. It'll be somewhere inside of the fence enclosed area here for security. This shows the zoning and the general plan. That's in the report. And this is just a few photos kind of showing the type of flag that would be up there. And then this is a close-up of the water tank and the enclosure it would be behind. And one of the ideas is that as you stand way down here on Main Street, you'll be able to look up, and right where this white arrow is pointing is the location for the flag. Dr. Booth is presenting it to the city, for the city to place, and then he's offered to raise and lower it as required, and had planned to have some arrangements to get access to it. I think an enclosure that you can just get into the flag but not into the water tank area itself. A couple photos of the area, and in summary that is basically it. I don't think I missed anything in the report, but the Planning Commission, except for one person, did recommend approval, and the flag size would be 20 feet by 30 feet, and it's approximately 452 North Main. And lighting, it's not proposed with this request, but lighting will be installed by the city, and it will meet city standards. And that concludes staff's comments, except to say that it is a conditional use permit, and on page 2 and 3 are the findings, and in particular, it would just be item G, the height, the 100-foot height, if you so choose to approve that.
Council, do you have any questions? Dr. Booth, anything you'd like to say? Not if you're going to approve it. See, this guy's smart.
Yeah.
Could you
take note of that, people.
Yeah. Any questions? I think this is, we've talked about this several times, Council, and we just had to run it through the process. We're sorry it took this long. Dr. Booth's been very patient. He just wants to donate a very nice flag and flagpole, and I think that'd be fun at the top of that street, right below the hill, right on the base of the hill.
It's another beautiful addition to the city. This must
Yep.
be the day for that. Thank you.
Ready for a motion if you're so inclined.
Move to approve a conditional use permit to place a 100-foot tall flagpole on city property near an existing water tank at the top of Main Street near Brooks Nature Pond.
Second.
We have a motion by Betty and a second by Joe. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. I did want to say one thing. Gary Esplin said he would lower the average age, but increase the average IQ.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. It's probably true, though. Okay.
Tends to keep you humble, doesn't it, Mayor?
It does, yeah. Adam, any other changes that you're aware of to the agenda?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll just let you take us through then. Is kind of how we usually do it.
Okay. As you can see, we don't have any items on the consent calendar, but we do have 3 bid openings, and so we're going to have Brett Whitehall present those to the council.
Excellent.
All right, this first item, 2A, is to consider approval for the purchase of a used 2013 Load King low bed transport trailer from Bryce Christensen Excavation. This is for our water department. It's a sole source purchase. The reason it's sole source, the department did a lot of research to try to find a trailer within their budget that meets the specifications that they need. And the estimated life usage of this particular trailer is over 20 years. The cost of that's $54,000, which will be $6,000 less than what they budgeted for.
Thank you, Brett. Any questions, council? Seems
Nope.
like a good situation.
I will make a motion to approve the purchase for the Load King low bed transport trailer from Bryce Christian Excavation in the amount of $54,000.
Second.
I have a motion by Michelle and a second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion?
Just to mention that it's being shared, and that's kind of awesome. That's how our departments work. They share stuff and they share ideas and they collaborate, and that's what we like to see.
Exactly. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, this next one is for the approval to purchase a Bobcat compact track loader. This is a purchase from a state contract, and the cost on that one will be $66,996, and this one is for the Public Works Department.
Questions, council? Ready for a motion?
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the purchase of the Bobcat compact track loader from H&E Equipment Services for $66,996.
Second.
Have a motion by Jimmy with the second by Betty. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Brett?
All right, this final one is for the bid award for the White Dome water tank site and access road grading. We want to award that bid to Royalty Enterprises, and we did do a formal bid on this. There were 7 bidders, and again, this is for the future tank site, so the road future tank site in that White Dome area. And the cost on that project will be $94,912.50.
It is good to see when we have 7 bidders, quite a difference between the bids. So the bid amount was, is it correct, $94,912.50? Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Council, do you have any questions? Ready for a motion?
Mayor, water is good, so I would like to make the motion that we approve the award bid to Royalty Enterprise for the White Dome water tank site and access road grading in the amount of $94,912.50.
Second.
Motion by Ed with the second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. That's the bid openings.
Okay, Your Honor, next on the agenda, on the written agenda, we do have 4 public hearings and 4 corresponding ordinances. However, as noted, items 3B and 4B have been removed for tonight. So our next item is a public hearing. Item 3A is to consider amending the general plan, and we'll have a staff presentation on this item.
So 3A is a public hearing to consider amending the general plan from open space, LDR, low density residential, MDR to open space, MDR, MHDR, and industrial on approximately 185 acres, generally located near the intersection of Brigham Road and South River Road. So this is a general plan amendment. This is a general plan amendment. Here's the vicinity map showing the area. Here's River Road and Brigham Road. It's located between River Road and Fort Pierce Wash. Here's the zoning map. It's located in this area here. You have a variety of different zonings in this area. You have the planned development residential, you have some industrial, and you also have some open space. The current general plan shows medium density residential, low density residential, and some open space. And it's part of the Fossil Hills master plan. So this is what the applicant is proposing for this particular request. On the north here, they're requesting some open space, and that open space would be approximately 65 acres. 81 acres. They're also proposing some medium density residential, and the medium density residential is about 65 acres, and MDR is a density range between 5 to 9 units an acre. It can accommodate single family houses, higher density single family houses, townhouses. You're generally going to see attached product in this particular land use category. And in this MDR, you can expect about 320 to 576 units in the medium density residential. They're also proposing medium high density residential, and that's located right here in the dashed red area. And the medium high density is approximately 20 acres. And medium high density residential is 5 to 15 units an acre. And you can expect right around 190 to 285 units in the MHDR. Typically, MHDR, you're going to see townhouses. You're not really going to see any detached product in that land use category. They're also proposing to extend the industrial land use category. This is the location right here of the current Sunrock, and so they're proposing to extend it further to the east in the blue. Along with this request, they're proposing master plan roads to extend through. So they're proposing a 60-foot road that would extend through the property. The rest of these are interior 50-foot right-of-ways. They're also proposing, and this is at staff's request, is to extend a road across Fort Pierce Wash and connect Little Valley Road in this area. So that's generally what the applicant is proposing. This is an overlay. This is the current general plan with what they're proposing to be overlaid. You can see in the open space area currently it's land use designated as MDR, and so those units would be removed from that area. You can see down here there's currently open space, but if you look at it, it's the area that's currently being mined and graded. And so it's not open space like natural open space. And so this plan is anticipating the future transition of this property into more of a developable area opposed to what it's being utilized for now. And Planning Commission, they reviewed it, they took public hearing on this item, and they recommended approval. And that concludes staff's presentation. The applicant is here and available to answer any questions, and so is staff.
Council, do you have any questions for staff, first of all?
John, just to confirm for me, at the appropriate time and if when deemed necessary, a traffic study may be required.
Yeah, so right now we're just looking specifically at the land use.
Right.
As we know more about what the density and the number of units that they're requesting during the zone change, we'll determine at that time if a traffic study would be warranted.
Thank you.
Other questions? Would the applicant like to say anything at this point?
Stacy Young representing the applicants. There's actually 3 landowners here. Our group, Development Solutions, Trust Lands is a portion of the property, and then the Russell Limb mining operation. As John thoroughly covered, this is really kind of a longer range proposal. There's probably a good 5 years more of mining activity that's anticipated to happen before the site would be to a point where development may be viable. But anyway, I'll take any questions you have. Other than that, I think it's.
Thank you, Stacy. Any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, then, I'll open up the public hearing at this time for any who may have come to offer input on this item, which is number 3A on our agenda. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any discussion or for your action.
Mayor, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the general plan amendment to change from open space, low density residential, and medium density residential to open space, medium density residential, medium high density residential, and industrial on approximately 185.4 acres.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jimmy with a second by, was that Ed? Any discussion on the motion? Sean, anything else? Okay.
Just may say, Mayor, this really is a look into the future and the mixture that's there and the density involved and what we will see as it develops. It will be very beneficial.
Very good. Well, if there's no other discussion, then all in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 The motion carries unanimously and the ordinance is adopted.
Mayor and council, next item is item 3C. Public hearing to consider changing the zone from R110 to an open space to planned development commercial on 4.3 acres located along the west side of River Road. And this is just south of 1450 South Street. So basically, this shows the property outlined here. And this is an older map. The Tag and Go is in here, and a Popeyes restaurant is along here. And then over here is Maverick, 1450. This shows the zoning. And we're talking about this area back in here. And then the commercial general plan that would support it, and the shape pretty much matches what the zone change is. Just for reference, it shows a floodway, 100-year flood, erosion hazard. And what they're proposing is phase 2 site plan conceptually. No buildings to look at tonight, just conceptual. There is colors and materials that's on the board here. On the table I can show you, and I also have it on the PowerPoint. But basically, here's River Road. Here's the development that's in front, phase 1, and then back behind it would be this 1, 2, 3, 4 lots. And they're requesting permission to have the conceptual layout, conceptual driveways, conceptual landscaping looked at, and then the use list. And I'll mention the use list that the uses will match those that were approved for phase 1. I put on a desk in front of you a little 2-page handout that says item 3C, because I noticed tonight that in the staff report it's an older 4-page version, but the engineer had sent me that revised one. And again, the whole intent there is that that just matches what was done in phase 1 along River Road. Concept renderings are given. They would have to come back in the future for each individual lot and do a zone change amendment. But this is just conceptually what they had in mind, and I believe this is what they had shown originally with phase 1. And just a couple more scenarios here. 2-dimensional elevations. And the color and materials board is on the table, and then there's an older materials board that was from phase 1, but the colors that the actual samples on there match everything that's on here. So it's heavy. I won't pass it around unless you request, but it is there in front. And again, this is just showing Boulder Creek Crossing phase 2, which is here. And then the applicant yesterday asked if I would add these photos. That's not in your packet yet, but this is just showing the riprap, the rock, the armament that's been done out there to mitigate the erosion area from the river. And just a couple photos. I'm going to look at the staff report. I think I've covered most everything. Again, this is a zone change for lots 10, 11, 12, and 13, and it's only for the overall site layout, the written text, the use list, the narrative, the overall landscaping concept, and vehicle access. No buildings are proposed to be constructed at this time. 4.3 acres. And the Planning Commission does recommend approval. On page 2, there's a list of recommended conditions. I won't read all of those unless you want me to. And that concludes staff's comments.
Any questions for Ray, council?
Just to verify and make sure it's on the record that this is the new use that's
List.
approved as opposed to what's shown in the packet.
Very good. Thank you, Joe. Other questions or comments?
Just ready to confirm that this rendering we have at each individual business as it comes forth, it will still be in keeping with the surrounding businesses as far as colors and things that have been approved previous to this date.
Well, the colors and materials you'll be approving tonight.
Right.
I know that there was a property that was an issue and a concern, so.
And they'll be compatible with what we have there now as far as Popeyes and what's proposed down at college.
Well, you'll see each one as it comes
As
in.
it comes
and
up,
then
so
we
the
can
public
refer
will
back
know,
to
then they can, okay. And the parking will be commensurate with whatever type of business, and we've been assured that the adequate parking will be available
Yes.
for that business.
Yeah, 1 to 250 for any retail or office, and then 1 to 100 for any restaurants.
Great.
And we've looked at that. We'll do that during civil engineering site plan review, but we've kind of run the numbers and it looks
good,
like it's fine. We'll double check that when it actually comes in.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Would the applicant like to say anything? No? Listen to Jimmy, huh? Okay, well then I'll open the public hearing at this time for any who might have come to express input on item 3C on our agenda.
Good evening, Lori Kosinski-Puchlik. Welcome to our new city manager. You've landed in a great place, awesome community. I have a few comments. I'm glad that they caught the use list, because I caught that too, and that was going to be my first comment, because that use list was negotiated for hours with neighbors and city and the developer, so it's really important that we revert back to that. You might recall, I just want to point out for everyone that in 2013, we were looking at these same renderings of the conceptual plans, and we look at these. Those have no bearing on reality. That is a vision, and it's really good salesmanship, but so far we have seen nothing to date on River Road that looks like that, and that's okay. I've been in commercial development, I love business, but I just want to point that out, because really, quite frankly, every time you get someone like a Popeye's Chicken, a Walmart, they'll come in and they will want to negotiate with you on their corporate colors. And let me tell you, or reiterate, as I've said before, we can get companies to change their corporate colors to match that if they want to be here enough. So as they come in one by one, which they will, because really the developer is not planning to develop this land himself. He is doing what has been done in the past and selling those lots off. So one of the discussions I brought before, and first off I want to say thank you again. I went to the Transportation Expo. I know you're planning to expand River Road in 2020. Thank you for the Red Cliffs Bridge Mall Drive, because that reduced our count on River Road by about 10,000. And thank you for the light that came in advance of this. So I know you guys get bashed about a lot of things. I want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to staff too for taking care of us always on the write-in and write-outs. I want to make sure that we are consistent with the write-in, write-outs. Right now, the Popeyes is working incredibly well. You'll remember the Maverick, we have those little poles. I think Cameron said we're going to get those changed. If we don't have write-in, write-outs on everything, we are going to be in trouble. And eventually we'll need medians on River Road. So I just want to make sure that as we look forward, we're looking at that. As I looked at the pads, again, we look at these beautiful pictures, but there are 3 pads that are the size of fast food restaurants. As I was talking to some of our transportation planners, I want to recall that conversation we had about Telegraph Street and the fast food drive-through. When we look at our quality of life and what makes us special and what's important about the general plan, a couple things stand out to me. One is commute times. Every time we are listed in a high up in a magazine, a ranking of a great place to live, we talk about commute times. We talk about air quality. And so I'm very concerned about the number of, and I don't want to necessarily single out fast food drives, but if you look at Popeyes and its great success, I would never go there, but I am totally stoked that the traffic is working there. That's what I care most about. I don't see any, potential accidents happening. However, saying that, if you look at, at peak times, I'm looking at maybe 35 to 40 cars. There is a lot of idling there. So I have a couple concerns. We limited last time the developer to how many fast food restaurants he could put there in phase 1. As a community in a neighborhood, we asked Chefco to look at the whole conceptual plan so that we could see the whole traffic impact. Right now we've added about 10,000 cars capacity by building the bridge. We'll be adding capacity, but we'll also have great capacity up there. So I'm not only speaking for my neighborhood in the Boulders, but for the 35,000 vehicle trip users that use that corridor. So I think there's a couple of other things. So if we continue with write-in, write-outs, and then we're also very careful about where we're putting these accesses on 1450 South. I go to the Summit Athletic Club several times a day. Thank you, Chefco, for that. Right now, there are certain times when it's very difficult to make a left-hand turn onto 1450 South. I see what's happened at Telegraph, and we love growth, and it's exciting, and we have a new business, and people love In-N-Out Burger, and they love Popeye's Chicken, and it creates new jobs. But then we have these unintended consequences that we sometimes, can't imagine. And so, I just would ask, number one, that we take a look at that use list, because 3 of those pads, if you look at your number, are the size of drive-through fast food restaurants. And I think we've already approved like 9 in phase 1. And so I'm asking you to consider limiting the number of drive-through anything because of the impact on air quality, on traffic movements, because of 1450 South. I think you're doing an excellent job, at least in my neck of the woods, that's really important to me. Telegraph is now in a painful place where the options, I wouldn't want to be on the city council. They're either going to have to destroy their historical neighborhood or whatever. And we all looked at that and went, wow, Bed Bath & Beyond, that's awesome. Walmart, that's awesome. In-N-Out Burger, that's awesome. And now there is such a tragic mess. So right now we still, at that light, have a level of service D at some times during peak traffic. So I'm asking you to look at everything comprehensively, consider all the traffic counts for that project, and then what we're going to be having upstream. I know we've got some exciting new developments in South Block, and we're also looking at the townhomes. So what I'm asking you is to not allow any more fast food restaurants, because you've already approved like 9 in phase 1, or to go back and revisit and look at those proposed traffic counts and make sure that we are not, that we are, like I said, the stars aligned for us in our neighborhood, that the development happened that it did, that the bridge went in when it did, that the light went in when it did. And that's great planning. And I just, would ask and plead with you to continue with that great planning and consider limiting those drive-through impacts. And next time your folks come back, because these renderings have nothing to do with reality, nor do these boards, that you'll stick to those, and you'll stick those up there, because this is showmanship, this is salesmanship, this is envisioning. And if I were a developer, I'd be doing the same thing. I've worked for a commercial realtor, so I'm trying not to pick on you. And that concludes my remarks. Thanks.
Hey, Lori, that 9 count that you put out, that's on both sides of the street of River Road right there?
You know what? That's what I recall. I've got 4 binders of the area with traffic counts and everything, but I believe that it was 9 we negotiated.
For both?
I thought it was 5.
Yeah. That was 5 on the west.
No,
on the
yeah,
east
if you counted both sides.
It's been a long time, but for some reason the number 5 stands in my head. I know we had a long discussion on that.
I think it was 5 on one side. Yep. It was more than I wanted. It was a compromise, quite frankly, and I was grateful for the compromise. I think it was 2 less than the developer wanted. And so before you make this decision tonight, let's please go back and check this. I hate to say table it. You know what? I know these developers work long and hard. They've been working on this project a long time, but that is so important, and to take a look at that 1450 South exit. I want them to have what they can have in there, but if we're looking at the quality of life and traffic for everybody for a long time into the future, that's really critical. And 9 is plenty. Actually, 7's plenty, to be honest with you. So even if it's 7.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, Jimmy, as I recall, that was 5 on the east side. Yeah.
Does that sound right, Chef Co, representatives? Okay.
4, that makes 9. I don't know.
Any other comments from the public?
My name is Jared Taylor, and I live just just south of where this phase 2 is to be completed. In past talks about this development, Mr. Sheffield said, and use this as a selling point, that when this area gets developed, there'll be a nice block wall put around this commercial property. Well, phase 1's been completed. There's no block wall there. We now have Popeyes that's in. We now have Technical Car Wash in. We now have Stephen Henniger College that's being built. There's no block wall.
I think there is a block wall where it was indicated.
There's no block wall along this side here.
No, I don't.
There's no block wall along here or up this side. The only block wall is along Bundy Lane where
Right,
they
right.
excavated deep to protect the traffic along Bundy Lane. Phase 1 was to have a block wall. And in the city ordinance, under walls, it says anytime that commercial meets residential, a 6-foot wall is to be in place. Phase 1 has not been done. What is to stop phase 2 across here from not being completed? There are corrals, there are animals in this area. Several times, I'm not just saying one, but several times, people will come to Popeyes, decide they want to go for a walk and see the animals. Animals are great. Some kids have never seen a pig before, or a cow or a horse. Some of us think that's strange, but in all reality, it's the truth. There's no wall here to keep people from coming through here. Every fence in a corral does not have a lock and key on it. Sometimes it's a piece of bangle wire, sometimes it's a piece of rope. There's nothing locking out feed from the animals that people can't access. Because people are hungry doesn't mean animals are hungry. If you're feeding a show animal for a livestock show, they are to be fed at certain times of the day. They need to be fed to maintain weight, to push weight, to make that a quality animal. You have general people coming in thinking, hey, this animal needs to be fed. What's stopping them? Nothing. Because we've been there saying, hey, this is private property, you need to leave. Oh, we just wanted to see the animals. If a gate gets opened, was to keep a horse, a cow from getting out onto River Road. Because this promise has never been fulfilled.
Okay, anything else?
That'd be all.
Okay, Sean, could you comment on the wall?
And I think it would be appropriate for John to come up, since this is going in phases, but it is correct, we do require the wall between the residential and commercial uses.
That's correct. As they come in with each one of these buildings, before they do a C of O, they'll be required to put up that wall. So right now, the Stephen Henniger's is being built, and so once that's ready for C of O, we'll ensure that that wall is being built. These pads in the back haven't been developed yet, and so that's why the wall hasn't been built along that property line.
So it's a timing issue. It's before they can get a certificate of occupancy, they would have to have the wall.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the public on this item, 3C? Certainly.
Mike Sheffield with Shefco. Thank you so much for a moment, you guys. Sure. I'm actually very grateful that these comments have been brought up again, because it has been a minute since we've talked about Boulder Creek on the west side there, and so we're very pleased to do so. On the item of the wall, we are actually we're very excited to put the walls in there. It's always been a part of our understanding. It's always been part of our commitment to do so, and as part of that commitment, we've actually got our block wall installers scheduled to start next week to put it on lots 3 and 4. Which is actually the exact reference area between the corrals there. Now, according to the city planning and engineers, it's supposed to be, well, not supposed to be, but by the time we receive our C of O, we're supposed to have those walls in, but we're going ahead and putting it on 3 and 4 to try to be a good neighbor for this, and because we have a commitment to do that. So we are putting that in starting next week. And in reference to phase 2 walls, they will also be constructed as according to plan in conjunction with the seeking the C of O as we continue to develop those. Continuing on to the comments before, on the east side of River Road, when we came forward to get the zoning here, there was a discussion about, excuse me, about the amount of fast food drive-thrus. And we did come to the number of 5, so that was a great recollection. But that was specifically in reference to the east side. Now the west side, we are pleased to say that there was some reference numbers thrown around, but the reality is that the Popeyes chicken in phase 1 is the only fast food drive-through that we have. We do have a bank that's going to be on the corner that will have a drive-through functionality, but it is a bank with a drive-through teller. And then we have a restaurant building adjacent to Lot 7, which is Popeyes, that is going to be sit-down restaurants. So yes, they are food-related, but they are not drive-throughs. The other three, while referenced that they are of the size that could be, they are not planned to be. Lot 12 is one of those that might go, it could become one. So Lot 12, we will say we'd like to keep the opportunity open for that. But the others, we don't necessarily have plans to make those a fast food drive-through. In fact, I wanted to reference tonight that we actually have plans to, because of the size and shape of things, we are considering just removing that lot line between lots 10 and 11 to make it one larger lot to facilitate a 2-story office retail combo building, which, and it might even have a end cap with a sit-down restaurant in it. So no firm plans to put drive-through restaurants there, but we obviously think it would be nice to reserve the right to have, maybe 1 or 2 more, but we don't necessarily have the plans to, we don't have plans to have 7 or 9 that were referenced. Are there any additional questions about the area that you guys would like to address?
Council?
So if in this phase it were limited to 2?
No, there has been no limit.
I'm just asking you if there was limited to 2, or does it need to be 3?
In phase 2?
In this phase, yeah.
2 would be fine.
Okay, so that would mean 5 on the east side, and then on the west side we have phase 1, which has currently 1 or maybe 2, and then a maximum of 2 in this phase would be
total of 9.
Yeah, 9, which is what we thought it was originally for the entire project.
And one of those isn't fast food, you're thinking.
Right.
Correct. So,
but it allows for that. If you need.
And I will make a little delineation. We no longer have ownership of the east side, so we don't have the ability to speak for them or what they're doing. So we don't know what they're going to do there for sure. But we are speaking of what we're doing on the west side. So I might move to say on the west side, if we could have a total of, I don't know, a maximum of say 4 between phases 1 and 2, or I don't know, because like I said, we might not even do any other drive-throughs. But at the same time, we do need to make sure that we have the opportunity to appease some of our clients and also the neighboring areas. So.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mike, were you saying 4 fast foods or just 4 food, including sit-downs?
Between phases 1 and 2, to have a total of up to 4 fast food drive-throughs. But maybe we don't even need, 3, should we call it 3 for the drive-through functionality, which is fine by me.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Makes sense. Thank you
Mr.
for that.
Sheffield?
I do want to clarify that that is different than a restaurant, right?
Right.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, any other comments from the public? All right, I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council. Any discussion? By the way, Lenhards, we know you don't have to stay the whole meeting, but we're glad to have you here. That cute little, let's see,
Ellie.
Bentley. He's had a long day already, huh?
He looks like a future
Sorry.
manager.
Yeah.
He does.
Sorry to make it longer
Sleeping.
for him, but anyway.
Adam, you're sitting next to him. It's okay to,
Any discussion or comments, council? Otherwise, if you want to try something again, you've heard what the public comments have been, staff's presentation, and the comments from Shefco as well. Ready for a motion if you're so inclined.
Mayor, I'll make a motion, unless Jimmy wants to do it.
No, go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the changing of the zone from R110 single-family residential, 10,000 square foot minimum lot sizes to open space and PD commercial, planned development commercial on 4.3 acres located along the west side of River Road, south of 1450 South Street.
Second. Okay, we have a motion. Does that include the conditions put forth by Planning Commission?
Yes, sir.
And any stipulations on fast food drive-throughs?
Did we conclude that we wanted 3 or 4, Joe? What was
That's up to you and your motion.
My vote would be that we leave it at 4 of any kind of restaurants.
4 total?
In just this
Is-
phase?
Huh?
In just phase 2?
Yeah, or 1 and 2 over there. Because we
Would-
got 2 in there right now.
Would that be 4 of any kind of drive-through? Is that what you want to do, or you
'Cause
or
they-
you want to do the restaurant, so that'd be 4 plus the bank
My-
with their drive-through?
Just my proposal would be 2 on drive-throughs and then leave the restaurants.
So
That would be my suggestion.
Okay, so
You guys
you're
made the motion.
saying the 2 that are in the immediate plans?
We're just
Popeyes
talking
and
about
the other
Just
one?
this phase,
Phase
phase 2.
two.
Yeah, and I don't think we can go back to phase 1 and say much about that already. But
So we're talking phase 2. He's suggesting 2 drive-throughs,
Right,
not
and-
addressing other restaurants. Correct.
Drive-through restaurants.
Drive-through restaurants.
Yes.
So is that your motion?
that's-
Does it include that stipulation? Maximum of 2 drive-through restaurants?
2 drive-through restaurants.
Is that okay with you on a second?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ed with a second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, starting with Betty this time, say aye.
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 The motion carries unanimously. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Next item on the public hearings agenda is item 3D, a public hearing to consider changing a zone from plan development residential and M1 to plan development commercial on 4.23 acres located on South River Road, and it's just north of Sunrock. So here's the vicinity map. Here's River Road. Here's River Road as it turns, and then Brigham Road, and this property right here. This shows the existing zoning. This is the site. Again, the blue here on the north is Sunrock, the block plant. There's apartments here and townhomes here. And this is the actual zone change request for this property. Again, an aerial view. So what they're proposing, this, by the way, went to Planning Commission twice. There were quite a few residents came out the first time, but there were significant changes that were made the second time when it came through, and it was well received. This is showing a 3-story climate-controlled building here, and then these are all single-storied self-storage units. And this is just a close-up in case it's useful to show some of the setbacks and the drive aisles and the layout. The landscaping in front has to be a minimum of 15, and you can see that it tapers quite a bit here. It's 26 to 30, so just intuitively looking at it here without even checking the plans yet, it appears it's going to meet and exceed requirements. This is showing conceptual landscaping. We'll see the actual landscaping when it comes in. John mentioned earlier on, I think it was the first item, the general plan amendment. They're talking about a 60-foot road here to come in the future, and that is the road I'm pointing at here, and that would be the access into it. So you wouldn't be accessing off River Road, you'd be coming in here. And again, for reference, this phantom line shows the townhomes that are to the north. I won't dwell on these are cross sections.
Ray, sorry, where did that 60-foot road you're saying comes that goes directly into the block plant, doesn't it, or am I lost?
Here's River Road.
Okay.
And then this would be a new 60-foot road.
Oh,
This would
I'm
be
with you.
access. This is the one John was showing in the general plan amendment.
What's south of that road?
Just south is Sunblock right here.
Sunrock. Okay, so there.
Sunrock.
That's what I thought. The 60-foot road was going right into Sunrock, but I didn't notice the other road there.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Ray,
I'm at the party now.
I have a question on that right now. You said a future road. Is that part of that development? The city put that in? Do they put it in? What's the story?
Well, they'll have to put in, I imagine they'll have to put it in right this distance right here so that you have 2 lanes of traffic. So you wouldn't have just half a road paved here. Is that correct?
I'm imagining even better than that, but I don't want to imagine if we can do it.
So they'll have to put in enough pavement to to access their property, which on a commercial, it's usually 35 feet. So they'll have to put in their half of the road. I know they've been working with Sunrock to also build that other half.
So where they're already existing, can we require Sunrock to participate in that? Or I mean,
That's my question.
yeah,
I don't
I
believe
can
so.
see where Joe was going.
I don't believe so.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's, that leaves a wide open area of concern in the future, in my mind. If I were Sunrock, I'd say, thanks, but no thanks.
No, well, they're good community partners.
I know they are.
They'll want to do
but-
it.
Yeah.
Well, it might be something good for the applicant to address because I know where that right-of-way line is. They've been working with Sunrock, and so it might be a good item for the applicant to address because where that's at, if it's solely on their property, they're splitting it on Sunrock. I know they've been working with Sunrock, and so they'll be able to answer that question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, that's okay. So continuing on, there's a cross-section detail. I think my next slide is going to show this area enlarged where I can point out a little bit better. The townhomes are here on the left. Here's the property line, and it would be 36 feet to the back of the building. Now, a block wall is required against residential, but the Planning Commission recommends and supported that this building be set down such that the wall here will act as a block wall, so you don't have to have a wall against the back of a building. And then they've proposed to heavily landscape just the top up here. Planning Commission spent a lot of time talking about drainage. They didn't want it to run in a road down to the townhomes, so they're putting a catch system in here. You can kind of see, we'll look at it closer when plans are reviewed, but then a piped roof drain system that will take that off. We talked a lot with Planning Commission and the homeowners about what landscaping could be done in here. It's not very easy to get anything to grow in there, but they would be putting boulders, some crushed rock, and then they show some irrigation system with some desert shrubs. And we felt that that was a pretty good win because that'll give a lot of distance between the townhomes. You'll have this landscaped slope versus putting a wall here down at the bottom, at the toe, and then just having this a no man's land for weeds and such, and thought that was a good option. This is a photo, I think this is out in Sun River, that the applicant submitted of how they envisioned the slope to have the rock and the boulders, and then there would be bushes that are desert-type bushes that would be in here. That's shown on the conceptual landscape plan. No boulders like this. They're
Just remember that the residents down there did not like that treatment.
Here?
Mhm.
No, I'm not aware of that. But the townhome residents were happy with what was shown here.
Yeah,
For against
as
them.
I recall, that's true.
So was it, you talked about some landscaping. How much landscaping? I mean, is it going to be very much like that?
See this right here, Mayor? This is the area where the slope is.
Mhm.
This is conceptual. If you approve that, then staff would follow to see that they have some intermittent plants and shrubs that are along here, so it's not just completely barren. What they were proposing is to have heavily shrubbed here at the very back. against
Still
the
are
walls.
proposing that?
Still proposing
Okay.
that.
All right.
Are you saying they're proposing more than they're shown there?
No,
No,
he's just describing it.
this would be all rock in here like the photo.
I got that
It,
part.
it's just that photo that they brought in as an example didn't have anything live growing in it, and they're proposing to have some live vegetation in it. So here's some street views. Here are the townhomes, and here are the block wall that and the split face that's on the wall that's there. I don't want to bore you, but there were some colors that were proposed. I've got an obsolete materials board down here, and the applicant proposed to match these colors of this wall into the back of the wall and into the buildings that would be the self-storage, and then also to match the colors of these townhomes. And I do have that down here. I can hand to you if you'd like to look at, but I think I have a photo of it also. So this is the area that would have more treatment in it, and then right along here, then you'd have recessed in the back, which function as the wall of those townhomes. The applicant is also proposing to make a little jog in here and then connect so you don't end up with an open area. So that's all continuous. And this is just kind of moving around in case this is helpful to you. This is showing Sun Rock out there.
Ray, so I don't forget, we do, as part of this, the applicant would widen River Road for that that little piece. Right? Excellent. Right there. That's the only spot on South River Road where there aren't two lanes. Yeah.
Right here?
Okay.
Well, then we'll look at that with...
yeah, that's got to happen for sure.
Okay. I think I'm just about done here. Let me see if I had anything else. Oh, here's the conceptual renderings. One of the things that happened at the Planning Commission, this was redesigned. Where I'm pointing right now, this is the north wall, and it was just one vast solid block wall, and this was redesigned to have the relief to match what you'll see facing River Road, and then over here on the south side facing the Sun Rock block plant. And that broke it up, and the residents were happier with that treatment. And then these are just two-dimensional, just showing the treatment, and then it's a little hard to see, but they've got the colored bands in here to get some relief. They make it more interesting, break it up. Although you can see it here. And the height, again, most of the buildings are single-story, but this three-story self-storage climate-controlled would be 34 feet 10 inches. And it's a flat roof. That would be to the very top there. This is just showing you the colors and materials that the applicant said he would match what's out there on the townhomes in the building and the design. And just a few more photos there for reference on the townhomes. This was the obsolete that came to the first Planning Commission, and then this was the second one that the Planning Commission recommends approval for, and the applicants proposed a change, and the residents were supportive of. I think that concludes my comments. I'll look here quickly, but I think I've covered most everything. The Planning Commission, again, does recommend approval. That's on page 3 of your report. They recommend some conditions that are listed there. And one thing I did not mention is, as you know, they're asking for a plan development commercial zone, and the reason they're able to do this here is because the temporary ordinance that was passed in September and is going to expire in the 1st of March allowed for this opportunity for them to come in and submit. On page 3, at the very top, talks about that temporary ordinance. And again, I won't read it all, but on page 5 and 6, there's the 13 items that have to be met for the temporary ordinance. Staff's gone through that. We discussed it quite a bit at the Planning Commission meetings. I'm not going to read them all unless there's a reason to, but those have been looked at, and they have to meet that in order to qualify for the temporary ordinance.
Ray, for public clarification for me to understand it, that just to make sure that this temporary ordinance, I want to go back to the fact that it's my understanding that all our public storages were 1 story, so this one's going to be up to 3 story. Is this cut out but that allows them to go to 3 stories? How does that impact our ordinance?
The way the ordinance is for commercial is, and it changed. There are a few places in town where you can see that they've had multi-story, but the ordinance quite a few years ago changed that any storage could only be single-story, and it had to be behind a facade or retail businesses, kind of like Fort Knox there on River Road near 900. But this is where this temporary ordinance would allow them to put a 3-story climate-controlled building here, and then they have the single-story storage units here.
Okay, so that's that temporary ordinance that allows this.
The temporary ordinance allows that.
Sure. Thank you.
And I might just briefly mention too, as I'm pointing here, this would be The wall of the building suffices as a wall. You'd have the wall here of this exterior. They would join a section here, and then they'll come over something like this to make a little jog for a wall.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ray? Okay. Is there anything that the applicant would like to say?
Stacy Young, representing Development Solutions. Maybe just a couple of comments to clear up a couple of the discussion that's happened so far. Procedurally, part of what happened here was this was a parcel that we initially actually brought in an application to look at doing multifamily here. And we were in a meeting unrelated to this with Sunrock one day and gave them the heads up that we were doing that. And they puckered a little. They said, you know, we're not super excited about that. Would you consider another use? And so we went back to the drawing board and continued to try to think of what would be a good transitional use between the block plant and the townhomes, and landed on the storage unit concept. We brought that into sort of discussion, and that was met fairly favorably. At that point, we had a choice between going through sort of standard M-type zoning, industrial zoning, or a PD commercial zoning. There's slightly different requirements in either of those. The main obstacle in the PD zone for storage units is actually you have to have storefront, and that there's general agreement both on in the development community and among staff that that's not terribly feasible. And but there was a preference on staff's part that we bring this forward as a PD, so you'd have the opportunity to look at the elevation and materials and all of that. And so the temporary ordinance was in part a way to navigate through those competing constraints. And so that's sort of the procedural background of this application. Regarding the street, as I said, this use seems to be fairly well received by both the townhome residents and by Sunrock. You know, our expectation is certainly that we would put in the amount of road and put it on us in such a way that we would have access to our project. We haven't really had any explicit discussions about having them participate in widening the road all the way to their side. On the one hand, they'd just as soon not have anything go in there. On the other hand, this is a more more favorable use from their perspective than what had been on the table. So I can't really speak to that today. I think what I would say though is that the 60 is really predicated on that future development from a few agenda items past, and so I think for a good long while that portion of the road, you know, the 2-lane road would be more than adequate to get into just this project. It would the widening would really only be necessitated by that future development.
So I have a question for Sean. When that development to the east comes along, is there any obligation that they have to make that a 60-foot road?
That's a good question, because you'll have that demand there,
Yeah.
and yet Sunrock will have that property there, and they won't have an obligation to do it at that time.
Sunrock won't.
Until they develop their property, they don't have an obligation to complete their side of that road.
But what about the developer of the property that we've talked about was on
Sure,
prior
you
thing?
can make a property owner do off-site improvements. However, we can't force Sunrock to sell them the property for the roadway. They'll have to agree to dedicate that at that time. Now, you think that they would, just from the perspective that they get a roadway done and installed for them, and so when they do develop that, which the roadway, the parcel along River Road seems like the most likely parcel to develop for them at that time, the roadway will be installed. But we can't force them, obviously, to.
Then how would the developer of that property be able to develop without access?
Well, I think what that well, there will be 2 lanes there, but you're right. A traffic study might say it needs a wider roadway, but at that time, what they can tell Sunrock is, we're going to improve that for you for free if you'll dedicate that to the city. A lot of times that works with the property owner, because they'll say, I've got a fully improved piece there. They can come in with a new plat and carve off a parcel there and sell that off as a fully improved parcel of property. So I hope that would be the case.
My concern is that the city doesn't end up having to build that road.
Right.
That's my concern.
Right. And that's a valid concern. on that. But I do agree with Stacy that until that develops to the east,
Yeah.
obviously
Right.
that's adequate for now.
Right, correct. I do too. But the River Road section is a different story. That's got to be done. Yeah, and I knew you knew that.
You're planning on that?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
You
That
just
was my
have to
question,
stay
Joe.
here.
Good
You
thinking.
and Adam at least have to stay here so you remember this conversation and, we get, yeah.
Stacy, I couldn't hear you up here. I'm getting deaf just like Joe, I think. And did you say, for the record, did you say you're going to put in that road on, or develop that road on River Road that Jimmy's alluding to?
Yeah, that additional
yes, okay.
gap there, yep, that'll be finished. And I apologize, I don't eat the microphone very well.
I just want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Yes, let's see. I haven't opened the public hearing yet. Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, then I'll open the public hearing for any who may have come to provide input or ask questions on this item, 3D.
I just had a quick thought as we're looking at River Road. It seems like it would be important to have a deceleration lane as you're also widening that, just because that's going to be critical. So I would ask that our traffic planner asks for a deceleration lane.
Okay, thank you. That was Lori Kaczynski-Puchlik again. Okay, any other comments?
That decel lane would be a Sunrock challenge, I think, as opposed to these guys.
Because of the side of the road it's on.
Yeah.
So we really can't force that.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Richard Deuce. I unfortunately had another appointment and couldn't arrive at the time this began. But
Please.
My concern there, since I own some units there in Fossil Hills, is the protection between the residential and now the commercial. I think lighting is important. If those are real bright lights, that certainly will impact the residential area. Of course, the traffic, I assume there's going to be some business hours, or is it going to be open 24 hours a day? I would hope that there would be some business hours associated with this permit. Those are my concerns. I see that there will probably be a lot of blacktop there. I'd like to see more trees and vegetation on the property. I think that would both improve the property. We know that blacktop increases temperatures by 2 or 3%. And so I think as much as we can get in there would be helpful.
Thank you.
And won't they have to submit a photometric plan and a landscape plan and all that stuff? Or is that submitted? Is that what we're
For
looking
PD?
at?
You've got the landscape plan.
We can ask them. We typically do on plan review and been very successful with receiving them. I'll let
That's in the
Stacy-
zoning, that's in the planning commission's notes.
Mm-hmm.
It
If
says,
it's one of
upon
the-
approval of the zone change amendment, the applicant shall submit an application for a site plan review, along with required civil engineering plan set, which may include but not limited to cover sheet, site plan, grading plan, erosion control plan, utility plan, landscaping plan, irrigation plan, and photometric plan.
Right.
Every kind of plan you can have.
Sorry, I was trying not to read all those items to you, but yes.
Thank
during
you
the-
for that.
During the site plan review, that is typically what we would expect to see, and I'll
Okay.
ask for it. On
Perfect.
these kind of buildings, I'll have to let Stacy address. I don't think we're going to see any pole lights. I think any lighting would probably be on the buildings, but he can address that.
Now, that does say something here about 1 foot candle at the property lines. Do we measure that, or? Sorry, Stacy.
We've had that on a standard on all commercial projects that it's stepped down to 1 foot at property line. And
So that should mitigate the prior comment.
Dark sky style lighting fixtures are being used.
But we will ask for a photometric, and when we ask for that, we'll have them show us what type of lights they're going to put on a building, if there are any poles, what they look like, are they screened, and we definitely will look at that.
Perfect. Back to the slope between the two properties. Sorry, can I ask a question
Yeah,
now? Oh.
sure.
Back to that slope between the two properties, has that been disturbed? Is it going to be disturbed? And why can't we leave it natural?
It's a little of both. So it's portions of it have been disturbed, most of it hasn't. Why can't we leave it under? What was the question?
If it hasn't been disturbed, why can't it just be the hillside?
Yeah, the portions that aren't that we don't have to disturb for that, we can leave that way. Yeah, so you can kind of see the lower parts have been, and as you get up higher, it hasn't been. So, a portion of the hillside will need to come down just to create the improved area. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure exactly how much disturbance there will be in that into that.
I'm just thinking that might be better than that treatment we saw before in my mind, but
Yeah, either way, it is rock. It's going to be very difficult to get anything. That's why we proposed what we did. Isn't necessarily because that would be our bias. It's because we're realistic about what will grow there.
Right.
Not going to grow much there.
Yeah. So the slope there is to get the overall site to work, and I don't know how much of that equals a disturbance and how much isn't.
Okay.
To the earlier questions, the engineered drawings will have all of the the electrical and stuff that'll have the lighting and all the rest of that as well.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to comment that sooner or later we're going to have to not have such stringent requirements on landscaping for commercial as it relates to trees and bushes. Rocks and cactus and stuff like that, in my heart and mind, are still landscaping. And we need to look at that closely in the future, because we can't have all giant trees and flower beds and everything like that. The water supply will go away faster than we want it to.
It's true. Okay, any other comments from the public? Then I'll close the public hearing and come back to you, council, for any discussion or for a motion if you're so inclined, keeping in mind I believe it's 9 conditions that were submitted by the Planning Commission.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, Mayor, that we approve the zone change on the 4.23 acres from PDR, Plan Development Residential, and M1 Industrial to PDC, Plan Development Commercial, and to approve the conceptual site plan as we've been shown.
Second.
Making sure that they do finish that section of River Road.
And the other conditions of planning.
And the other conditions and comments of Planning Commission. Thank you.
And so, let's see, there was a motion by Jimmy and the second by Betty, I believe. Any discussion on the motion for this ordinance? Okay, all in favor, starting with Ed this time, say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. All right, Adam, let's see, where are we?
Your Honor, that brings us to our resolutions. And item 5A is complete, and that brings us to 5B, which is a transferal of ownership of city-owned property. And our city attorney is going to give us background on this item.
This parcel here is a small parcel that was a remnant piece when the, it's Westridge Elementary. Is that not the name of the elementary school? What is the name of
Heritage.
Heritage. Heritage, that's right, okay, Heritage. I was close. It's interesting because Heritage is the old West Elementary. That's actually the way we were talking about it at first. It was to replace that elementary school. When they built that school, or proposed building that school, they bought that property from the city, and they needed a little more property to the east side for their fields. So they shifted the road, Morningside, over onto the MacArthur parcel. As part of MacArthur's agreeing to sell that parcel to the school district so it could be dedicated as a roadway, it left a small triangle of about 2/10 of an acre of property that was to be transferred to the MacArthurs. It's just a remnant piece. However, that never occurred. So this is a cleanup matter from when that school was built in order to get that parcel into MacArthur's hands. And it is directly behind Feller's house right there on the corner.
We talked about this in a recent work meeting, and again, glad that Sean remembered the issue, and really the promise was made. We're just trying to, as Sean said, clean this up. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
When you talk about remembrance, I can't help but always remember when I see Eldon's name is that bread that he would bake on Saturdays.
He did every Saturday.
Yeah.
Mayor, I'd like to move that we approve a resolution transferring 0.12 acres of city-owned property located at Morningside Drive across the street from Heritage Elementary to the Eldon and Denise D. MacArthur Revocable Trust.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Betty and the second by, who was it? Joe? Jimmy? Same age.
Yeah.
Right? Any discussion on the motion?
It's discriminatory.
I know. They're the same.
Not up here.
That's right. All in favor? Let's see, there's a resolution requiring a roll call vote, starting with Betty this time. Say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously.
Bocat and I are on the same wavelength tonight anyways.
We are. On something, huh? That's good.
You're finally getting one.
I'm getting there.
All right, up next, we've got a number of staff reports, the first being item 6A, which is a Class C liquor license, and we'll have a presentation from staff on that one. Is Brenda here?
They just look like deer.
I know, they all do.
They're going, oh, crap.
Well, then I think I'll just briefly tell you that on this one we
That was classic.
This is the restaurant out at Sun River, and there's a change of ownership. Unfortunately, they did not get their application in for the new owners to have their liquor license. So in the meantime, what they're doing is they had the previous owner apply for the liquor license. I think we ratified that at the last meeting, if you recall, Mayor. But now they're getting the license in the proper name. So it's just a continuation of the liquor license that was there at that Riverwalk Grill before.
Questions, council?
No, I will approve the local consent for a Class C full-service restaurant liquor license for Sun River Golf. And I still would have loved to have seen John or Wes have to present this.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Betty. Discussion on the motion?
That's just a full bar?
Yep.
Alcohol, whiskey, and beer and wine and all the whole.
Well,
yes, you might have to show your ID, but they will.
And great food.
Is it still called Riverwalk?
I'm sorry, I probably got the name wrong, and I apologize that, but the applicant is Sun River Golf LLC.
But it is.
that's on there.
Riverwalk.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And now I'll have a report on our planning commission meeting from February 6th, and John Willis will do that for us.
Now John gets to be up here. Was that short, Joe?
I'm doing it too. The next item on the agenda is 6B, Planning Commission report from the meeting held on February 6, 2018. There were no public hearings for that item. And so we will go right to 1B, which is also on the City Council agenda as 6D and 6E. And I'd like to do item 1B and also item number 2 together. They're related to each other. So 1B, consider request to construct a 3-story mixed-use building in C4 commercial zone on approximately 0.80 acres that will exceed allowable height of 35 feet unless the CUP is approved by the City Council. Property is located at 131 and 145 North, 300 West. And item number 2, consider request for a building design conceptual site plan to develop a mixed-use project in the C4 commercial zone on approximately 0.80 acres. Property is located at 131 North, 145 North, 300 West. Representative is Mr. West Davis. So this is a mixed-use project, and in the C4, a mixed-use project is a building design conceptual site plan. They're also requesting an additional 2 feet, approximately 37 2.5 feet in height, so that extra 2.5 feet needs to be reviewed and considered by the city council. So that's the CUP and the building design conceptual site plan. This is the location. I'm sure the council's aware this is where the old Dixie Care Share was located. They've also combined the property to the north, and so it's both of these properties. Zoning C4. This is the site plan, and so what they are proposing is a 3-story building, approximately 37.5 feet in height. They are proposing 26 apartment units. In the C4, there is no density cap. It's a mixed-use project, and so the density is approved by the city council based on the design, and if the city council believes that it's appropriate. This is the site plan that was presented to the Planning Commission. In this site plan, the applicant proposed approximately 2,200 square feet of commercial space. The Planning Commission reviewed it and they recommended denial for both the building design conceptual site plan and also the conditional use permit. They denied it based on, they felt that there was not enough commercial on this mixed use project. Since then, staff has had an opportunity to meet with the applicant if they've revised their proposal. This is the updated, they've increased the retail or commercial space from approximately 2,200 square feet up to 3,000 square feet. In doing so, they lost approximately 3 guest parking, and so they are also requesting to for the city council to waive the guest parking requirements. They do meet the parking requirement for 2 per unit, and they meet the commercial requirement. The guest parking, they are required to provide 9 guest parking, and they're requesting to that reduction to 0, and the ordinance allows for that reduction where justified. The applicant submitted a narrative and is also here to provide that justification for the reduction in the guest parking. So this is the landscaping plan. They meet the 30% that's required per ordinance. This is the elevations they propose. This will be the front elevation that'll be visible from 300 west. This is the side elevations. Again, the height, they're requesting an additional 2.5 feet. This is a floor plan of what's being proposed. They're going to have a mixture of units of sizes and bedroom types. This is a few perspective drawings that the applicant has provided, showing the 3D renderings. There's also this one that they provided. This is looking kind of northwest of what it'll look like along the street. Again, C4, the buildings can come right up to the sidewalk, and so they are meeting all the setback requirements.
John, those trees that you showed in that last slide, are they just a rendering, or are those trees going to be part of the landscape?
They'll be part of the landscaping.
Is this both lots? They're going to take down all the existing buildings?
Yes, they are.
They're taking down the buildings?
They
The
have
buildings
to.
will be
They're
removed.
horrible.
Darn. Spend a lot of time
John,
over there.
you have a picture there, and I wish I could tell you what page. Page 7. Can you pull that up, or do you have that?
Yep.
Just to make sure, I think I know the answer, but I want to verify it. There's a blue outlined area, which doesn't include that house at 145. But isn't that part of the project?
It is. If you look to the picture just to right above that, it highlights that house, and so it is that entire block.
Thank you.
That's the one that's just north of this?
There's
So if you
Plus the other one has to the north.
To the north, that's the one then.
let's make sure you're clear on it, because there is another one to the north that is not part of it.
So I believe this is the picture, and so it'll include all of this property.
Did you say what the commercial use was going to be in there? Just
It'll. I don't believe they know a use yet, but we could ask the applicant. I think it's C4, and so whatever permitted uses would be allowed in the C4.
it's a good idea.
So that'll be a total of 26 residential units.
That's what they're requesting. That's about 32 units an acre is the density. We have the material board on the table, and staff can pass it around if the city council would like to look at it a little closer. And again, Planning Commission, their concern was they felt there wasn't enough commercial. The applicant has modified the request and is requesting the 3,000 square feet of commercial with the 26 units, and that concludes staff's presentation. The applicant is also here to answer any questions. Again, this is two requests. One is the building design conceptual site plan. Second is the conditional use permit, and they should have separate actions.
So that would require a waiver of guest parking to just 3.
That's correct. No, it'll be the full.
The full.
I believe it's 9.
Full
Yep,
thing.
9 guest
They
parking.
lost 3, but they're asking for the whole.
That's right. They lost those guest parking by increasing the amount of commercial. They lost the parking.
So you're saying that the Planning Commission denied it 6-0, but
That was before they'd made the changes.
right? Have they seen it sent? Did it go back to Planning Commission or not?
No, and so they made those modifications between Planning Commission and City Council.
Staff's recommendation?
Staff recommended the proposal.
Sean?
And of course, they have the right to come after Planning Commission's recommendation to come to the council. But I will say we sat down with the applicant and discussed this, and I thought we came up with a good compromise on this. And of course, Mr. Davis will come and speak to it, but he acknowledged that having the larger square footage would make it more desirable for leasing as a commercial space. And we felt the compromise with the parking, given the other compromises we've made downtown with the other projects, made this a good compromise. So that's why the staff's supporting it.
Seems to be in harmony with other things we've done, in other words. Yeah.
It is. It's consistent with the way that we've treated the other mixed-use projects. And again, it's getting that residential in the downtown area to help fill that gap between 6 to 9 and ensure that we have people down to utilize our downtown area.
Nice to see it possibly then spreading out a little bit too, getting some a little bit further west and north. Okay, would the applicant like to make any comments?
Wes Davis, applicant. Just in regards to a couple of items, I guess the first one's the conditional use permit. The way that the code is, the ordinance is enforced now is the ground floor needs to be 12 feet tall on the footprint. And we have mechanical units that were on the roof. So initially we were considering maybe doing a flat roof to get it below the 35 feet. But in order to hide those and make them a little better looking and not being able to shrink the ground floor, that's what put us the 2 feet over from the 35 feet to get to 37. So that's the reason we went 2 foot over. And the other thing that we try to do is to mitigate the remainder of the residential property that's there to the north. Is if we had just come in with a regular commercial building, we could actually go 10 feet from the property line and go 35 feet straight up. But we try to move that as far away from the residential as possible to be less obtrusive to the neighbors there. And that 2 feet and being the distance that it is away should be accommodating. So are there any questions on the conditional use permit? For the
Have
height?
you spoken to the residents?
We have, yeah, we have. We've spoken with Miss V that lives next door, and I think she was here at the last meeting, and her concern was cockroaches and other things possibly going over to her yard when the buildings get torn down. And given what's there, I'm sure there's a high likelihood that there's a lot of infestation there, and so it's something we'll definitely, we'll go through the process that you have to demolish buildings. And we met with the gentleman that lives on the far corner. It's a rental for him. That's an investment property, and we've met with both of those. We've also talked with Metcalf across the street, and they were very supportive of it.
So there's 2 homes?
There's
envision.
4 properties along that street. We're buying the first 2, and then
So
there's,
there's
2
2
more.
more? Okay.
With regard to those residences, I will point out that those owners of those properties actually came to us and asked them to zone them commercial. So while I appreciate
Correct.
their being sensitive to the residences there, they ask for their properties to be zone commercial, so they'll transition to a commercial
Which we're
use.
not necessarily doing right
No,
now.
but
They are
but
zone
They
commercial already,
recognize
though.
that there will be
They're-
an impact, right? Because they want their properties to go commercial
Yeah.
as well.
I'd
That's
like to
correct. I think-
comment too on the release of bugs and so forth. We survived termite terrace, so we can survive this.
Well, roaches don't go where there is no food. They do not. They go where there is food and sugar.
I say we walked the property and didn't see very many roaches inside, some spiders and a few other bugs, but really not.
So that, to
any
clarify, that Ms. B offered to sell you that property, and did you buy it?
Well, we have not. Well,
But you're thinking about it.
They have an option.
we have, that is an option for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
So
both of them actually, both the adjoining properties is an option. We've talked to both of them.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, we're talking about a lot of things, but really the only reason why you have to be here is because of the 7 feet or whatever we're
2 feet.
2 feet.
2 feet, and that's to hide the mechanical
The
unit.
rest of this stuff we don't really. You wouldn't have even been here if it hadn't been for that.
Parking.
For the conditional use permit, correct, but on the second item, it's the site
Right.
plan review, and the question was the parking.
Okay.
And so I know when we originally did some of the other projects that come through, mainly Jewel Plaza, we presented a study.
Right.
And we were able to park at 1.5 with no guest parking, and here I think we're asking for 2
Right.
with no guest parking. The other thing that we're doing here as well is, out of the 26 units, 8 are single bedroom units, and then the rest are 2-bedroom units. There aren't any 3-bedroom units, so they're not geared for families with 3, 4, 5 kids. They're really geared more for singles and couples.
That's the next item, right?
That is the
Right.
second item.
We know
correct.
these guys don't care about parking. I'm the only one that's concerned about that, so you're fine there.
Well, you did learn from Jules. You did learn from Jules Plaza on the parking, didn't you? That you transferred it over to this one.
No.
Yeah, well,
the guest park.
I think it'll be well as well, but yeah, I think both Jewel Plaza and City View
Yeah.
both had 1.5 parking on them.
Wes, is there anything else you've got to say? Otherwise,
If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'll say originally when we first came into staff, it was 30 units with a larger commercial footprint, and then we weren't sure if we'd be able to get that reduction in the parking, and so that's why the initial plan coming into Planning Commission did reduce both the number of units and the commercial footprint, and then after discussion with staff and legal and seeing what we could do, we increased that back to where it was, and in consideration of that, it is viable. I mean, most of the leases, our office has probably done 20 to 30 commercial leases this year, office leases, and most of them are around 22 to about 3,200 square feet. So that is a size that's marketable and viable.
I'm doing the first one.
okay. Well, thank you, Wes. I think we're set.
Okay.
Sean, this needs to be 2 separate motions.
Yes, please.
Is there a preference on which should go first?
No.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the conditional use permit to construct a building approximately 37 feet in height at 140 North, 300 West.
Second.
I have a motion by Michelle and a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Need another motion for the, approving the building design conceptual site plan as has been presented to us, including the notation of accepting the parking as it has been presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Betty and a second by Michelle. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. This should be nice for that area. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Please we'll be there. Thank you. 4th.
April 4th.
Not April 1st.
Yeah. You've had a lot of good news today, haven't you?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
St. George. That's all I got.
Item 3 from the Planning Commission report is a request to consider vacating Lot 2 from the Hidden Valley Commercial Minor Subdivision. Representative is Development Solutions. Property is located at 930 East Brigham Road. Zone is PDR and PDC. Basically, this is a 2-lot subdivision. Right here is Brigham Road, Desert Hills Drive, Thunder Way, or whatever they call it. is right here, and this is a 2-lot subdivision. This is the Hidden Valley Ivory Homes offices here. They just want to vacate, they're requesting to vacate Lot 2 out of that subdivision, just leave it as a 1-lot subdivision.
Any questions on this?
I keep having something in the back of my head that tells me that at one time we approved some remaining residential on the west side of that property.
On this one here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the next item I'll show you.
So that doesn't go up to the roadway on the west side?
Over here?
No, down below. Right there.
So this vacates it all the way from road to road to road.
Okay, I'm probably having a vision or a flashback or something.
Yeah, we're vacating, so, yeah, John's right. You've seen a residential here and commercial here.
Yeah.
They've come forward. Yeah, we're vacating that portion out of this plat so that they can then create plats from this and subdivide that.
So something else will come before us on that?
Yeah, and that's the
Okay.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Step 1, yeah. Any other questions? Ready for a motion? This is item 3 on our Planning Commission agenda.
Motion to vacate Lot 2 from the Hidden Valley Commercial Minor Subdivision.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Joe. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 4A is a request to consider approval of a 6-lot commercial subdivision final plat called Desert Hills Plaza. The representative is Development Solutions, property located at the intersection of Brigham Road and Thunder Road, zone is PDC. And again, as Councilman Boca was saying, so this is the area we just vacated. Now they want to create a plat right here of their commercial subdivision. These will be pads right here. This will be a lot. This will be common area to that portion there, and then they'll have cross access here and here as they share both the accesses.
Questions on this, council? Ready for a motion?
Move to approve a 6-lot commercial final subdivision plat for Desert Hills Plaza.
Second.
Motion by Betty and a second by Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, item 4B is a request to consider approval of a 16-lot residential subdivision final plat called the Ledges of St. George, White Rocks, Phase 5, Representatives Development Solutions. Property is located at White Rocks Drive and Ledges Parkway, and the Ledges Development Zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff, and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. And so this one, if you look here in your vicinity map, here's SR 18. Here's the roundabout. It's just south of the roundabout and just east of SR 18 right there.
Is there going to be any short-term rental in this?
No, not in this one.
Questions? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for the Ledges of St. George, White Rocks, Phase 5.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 4C is a request to consider approval of a 3-lot residential subdivision final plat called Sandtown Bungalows. Again, the representative is Development Solutions. Property is located at 364 West, 400 North, zone is RCC. All aspects of this final plat reviewed by staff and meets the conditions of preliminary plat. Again, here's 400 North, 400 West here. It's these 3 lots. This lot, we didn't do any, we went to JUC because of the narrowness of the property. We went to JUC about requesting not to require public utility easements around the edge, and they were okay with that. The only easement would be required is right here along the frontage as a public utility easement, and then a 10-foot easement through here. There's a power pole right here that services this lot, and there's overhead that comes from here, services those 2 lots. So take that power underground, and they'll put a transformer out here, and then they'll run underground power up here through their lot and to that pole. So you'll see an easement right through here for power to that pole that continues servicing these 2 lots. And then they are requesting, as in the RCC, a 15-foot setback on their frontage which is allowed under the RCC as long as they provide a porch that covers 50% of the front of the house and is raised 18 inches.
Where's 500 North?
Here's 400 north, here's diagonal. So 500 north would be right there,
And where's diagonal?
right here.
So, so you're saying they're putting the power, they are, or we are putting the power?
No, they will do it. They will,
Okay.
they'll take the power underground here, put the transformer, they'll run new power from about right there. Oh, I can't remember if they're gonna put it here, and then they'll have a transformer there, and then they'll run power here back up to that pole. So they'll need an easement there for their underground power, which will basically sit in their driveway, and then it'll just go around their garage here and to their pole.
Questions? If not, ready for
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for Sandtown Bungalows.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Michelle. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 4D is a request to consider approval of a 13-lot residential subdivision final plat called Stonecliff Phase 15. Representative is Pope Engineering. Property is located at Rhyolite Lane and Granite Way in the Stonecliff Development. Zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of the preliminary plat. So this is the ridge line up here. I don't know if you, oh, there you go. So here it is. It's right there near the top of the Stonecliff development. They will have that 100-foot ridge setback that doesn't allow for any structures within that setback. This lot is the one they've worked out with, or working with the city as far as a future irrigation tank right here on this lot. So it will not be part of this plat. It's just these lots right through here.
Questions? Ready for a motion?
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for Stonecliff Phase 15.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Joe. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 4E is a request to consider approval of a one-lot commercial subdivision final plat called Sun River Commons Phase 2. Representative is Rosenberg Associates. Property is located at Pioneer Road and Sun River Parkway. Zone is PDC. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff and it meets the conditions of preliminary plat. Sun River Parkway here, Pioneer Road here. This is the one you've seen recently where the terrible Herbst gas station will go. And they will just be dedicating that portion of frontage to the city as there will be a decel lane coming off of Sun River Parkway into the gas station and future development here.
It's too bad Lori isn't still here. She'd like that decel lane. I think they're already putting it in fact.
Yeah, they probably are.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the final subdivision plat for Sun River Commons Phase 2.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5 is a request to consider approval to amend a residential subdivision final plat called the Ledges of St. George Phase 7, amended and extended. Representative is Pope Engineering. Property is located at Ledges Parkway and Shinnecock Drive. Zone is PDR. All aspects of this final plat were reviewed by staff. So basically, this is Ledges Parkway right here. This is kind of the end of Ledges Parkway. They are going to amend and extend and add this property right here to this Phase 7. And what they want to do here is put in an amenity area that's exclusively for Phase 7. These are nightly rentals, and they felt like they need an amenity area to make this work as part of their nightly rentals. And so that's the extension, is to create an amenity area for this subdivision.
So your short-term rentals is the same as nightly rentals?
Yes.
So the public will relate to it, yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ready for a motion?
Motion to amend the residential final subdivision plat for the Ledges of St. George Phase 7, amended and extended.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second. Was that you, Ed? By Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 6 is a request to consider approval of subdividing one lot into 2 lots in a commercial zone. Representative is Brown Consulting Engineers. Property is located at 84 West, 1470 South, Zone of C2. And basically this is the Crystal Inn, I believe. Isn't that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Down there by Morgan's Pest Control.
Right, here's Morgan's Pest Control right here. Anyway, they want to create 2 lots right here, subdivide this off where their tennis courts are, and allow for another parcel here. Recently, we came forward as we vacated the right-of-way along this road, that little strip of right-of-way, to allow for that parcel.
Questions on this request for subdivision of 10 lots or less? Ready for a motion?
Move to approve a subdivision split from 1 lot to 2 in a commercial zone for David Kipp.
Second.
Here we have a motion by Betty and a second by Ed to approve this from 1 lot to 2 lots in the commercial zone as has been described. Any comments on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, item 7A is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 48-lot residential subdivision called Aspen Estates, phases 7 through 10. Site is located approximately 2930 south, 3210 east. Property is 14.65 acres. Density is 3.3 dwelling units an acre. Zone is R18. General plan shows this is low-density residential. The applicant is Development Solutions Group. If you look here on your vicinity map, here is 3000 east right here. This is that Segmiller, let's see, do I got this right? Yeah, Segmiller property where they have the one lone house that sits up kind of above 3000 east. It's just to the east of that. So this property right here is the Atkins property. Yeah, right here is the Atkins property. They have created their roads so that one of the concerns I had was drainage coming onto the Atkins property, as they have buildings right here. However, they've graded their roads such that it'll drain back this way, and so no drainage will get onto the Atkins property. They also have a storm drain line that comes to here. They indicated that they will be tying that storm drain in line through here up to here with Cornerstone, which is the development they're working on. So that storm drain line will actually come through here and actually tie to an existing line. Currently, it wouldn't if it ended right there.
So for the people in Little Valley, what's the density per acre?
3.3 dwelling units an acre. They are only going to build half this road right here. They own this property right here, but they're actually working with the school district in hopes to sell that to the school district for a future school, and then they'll leave that to the school district to build that south half of the road.
Good density, Jimmy. Go ahead.
The problem is it's R18.
Motion to approve the residential preliminary plat subdivision for Aspen Estates, phase 7 through 10.
Second.
Motion by Michelle with a second by Betty. I knew Jimmy wasn't quite going to be. That's just a little too high density for Jimmy. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Did you say aye, Jimmy?
Yeah, I always
Okay.
say aye when I'm supposed to.
Motion carries.
Okay, item 7B we'll have to push to another meeting. We need to resolve some issues. Item 7C is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 192-lot residential subdivision called Desert Bluff. Site is located approximately 3800 East Desert Canyons Parkway. Property is 26.456 acres for a density of 7.26 dwelling units per acre. Zone is PDR. It's part of the Desert Canyons development. Applicant is Kurt Gordon. So this is it right here. This is Desert Crest and Ridge up here. Here's Desert Canyons Parkway through here. This is a proposal to sell this to the LDS Church for a future church. And this is the Fort Pierce Wash. They are requesting, this is actually within the hillside area. So along this, there's probably a 30-foot drop or more from this development down to here. They are requesting elimination of the sidewalk along that road right here. You can see right here, as it's a fairly steep area here. The ordinance allows for you to, if you're in the hillside, to request elimination based on topography of the sidewalk on one side, as long as on the other side it's increased by a foot. And so basically they're going to build a rock slope with a little drainage way to catch drainage off half the slope, and then a rock slope down to here. And then they're going to leave a 3-foot area down at the bottom, between the bottom of the slope and the back of curb, to catch any type of spalling or rock fall that occurs along here. Where they don't have that 3 feet based on a 2-to-1 maximum slope, then they'll build a wall to get to the necessary 2-to-1 slope along that base there. So they are requesting elimination of that sidewalk along that side there. Property does lie within the erosion hazard zone of the Fort Pierce Wash, so they'll have to provide erosion hazard study. Also, we've requested that since these lots here are right here along the Fort Pierce Wash, there's a 100-year floodplain, that lots that lie within 100 feet of that of that floodplain, that they provide an elevation certificate with each building to verify that they sit at least 2 feet above the base flood elevation along the Fort Pierce. Let me just check one other thing. And then they are requesting, instead of putting a sidewalk along that side of the road, their request is to put a dirt trail along the Fort Pierce Wash and eliminate the sidewalk here. They felt like a dirt trail would be better than a paved trail, and so they were requesting to put that along here. You do have the 10-foot trail that runs along Desert Canyons Parkway here. It would come along here. That's part of the master plan trail. These are double fronting lots, so you'll have the 10-foot landscape strip and the privacy wall along here. They do have amenity here, a little amenity area here that's part of phase 1. Then you'd have phase 2 here, and then an amenity area right up here that's part of phase 3. And then this is where they'll collect their runoff from their site before discharging it into the Fort Pierce Wash. Also, there is a fair amount of grade change between these units right here, up to 10 to 12 feet. So what they're proposing is, this is the upper unit, providing 10-foot flat area behind those units, then a maximum 2-to-1 slope. Again, it'd be rock sloped, and then a 10-foot area here that's a flat area, and then the bottom lot here. And that's how they're proposing to take up that elevation. There are a couple areas where they may have to put in a small retaining wall to keep to that 2-to-1 slope right through there.
I got a couple of questions on that. On the first thing, on that part there where we're not having a sidewalk over
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still a curb there.
Yeah, there'll be a curb.
There to catch any water that.
So you have a curb, and then we'll have at least 3 feet of flat area, and then it'll go up 2-to-1 up to these upper lots here. The 3 foot was just so that anything that comes off of that could be caught without going into the road.
And then I had a question on the other one you just told me, and
Over here?
Yeah, it's gone away now.
Yeah, so their request is to, instead of putting a sidewalk along here, to put a dirt trail that would be part of their development, part of their plan. It wouldn't be a city trail, it would be a private.
I know what I had in mind. Is that other one where you have 10 feet?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, a gravel trail, sorry.
Okay. You had another picture there. Yeah.
Want me to go here?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
The bottom right-hand corner.
Right here.
You said that's where these other lots will be.
So that's kind
There's
of
a
showing
big-
you a cross-section
Right.
between these lots here, basically right there.
Okay, we've had some complaints, in the past where people on the bottom wanted a wall. But that's not part of the agreement?
No, this is all common area to the development through here. So they're individual pads, and then this would all be common area between the pads right there.
You just can see a challenge in the future, maybe.
So Wes, due to the variations in elevations throughout that project, staff is satisfied that the drainage issues have all been addressed?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to make sure that on these ones where they have this,
Yep.
that there's a way to catch that water that comes off of that slope without impacting the home. Maybe make sure that they slope that back towards that wall or something. That'll be a challenge. We'll have to make sure that how they're going to deal with that drainage right there because of that topographic change.
Okay.
Other comments or questions?
I have just one question on the trail that we're calling it. Is that on city right-of-way, in city right-of-way,
Right here?
where they're going to put the gravel trail?
No, that would be within their development.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Any other questions? Ready for a motion then?
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for the residence, for Desert Bluff.
Second.
I have a motion by Michelle and a second by Betty to approve this 192-lot residential subdivision for Desert Bluff. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Okay, item 7D is request to approve a preliminary plat for a 38-lot residential subdivision called The Willows. Size located approximately 2710 East Crimson Ridge Drive. Property is 11.97 acres. Density is 3.2 dwelling units an acre. Zone is R110. General plan shows this is LDR. Applicant is Quality Development. Developer is requesting lot size averaging as 7 of the lots are less than the 10,000 square feet, with the smallest being 9,392 square feet. Let's see. They do have these are all existing homes. This is where the school district owned that property here, decided not to do it, build a school there, and so they sold it to them. So all of this is built around them. They do have about an 8-foot grade change between this future pad and that lot there. There is an existing wall along here, so we'll have to work out with them how they're going to handle that 8-foot change without impacting their privacy wall there. They will need to vacate. This has actually been dedicated to the city, this entrance here, and so they will need to vacate that entrance because it's public right-of-way. So there is a landscape strip along the church property here, and the road's already built all the way out, and there is a landscape strip along here that sits within the public right-of-way. This landscape strip, I'm assuming the church maintains because it seems like it's maintained. Nothing has been planted in this landscape strip. It is public right-of-way. Not sure exactly if we want to move the sidewalk to the back of walk and get rid of and vacate that. Or do you leave the landscape strip and have them landscape it? Then the question I had for them, and they didn't feel like they wanted to create a homeowners association to maintain that landscape strip. I don't know why it was built like that. I have absolutely no idea. But
So what's our option?
well, we could move the sidewalk to the back of curb, make them move that to the back of curb, and then vacate that land. Vacate the right of way back to the sidewalk. We could have them install the landscape strip and create a homeowners association to maintain it. You could have each homeowner maintain their
No.
and that's not a bad idea because they are corner
Yeah.
lots, but they are corner lots. This lot actually right here would front this street right here. So it's the only one that fronts this street, unless, I'm assuming these two will probably front.
So both those houses you're showing right there open
Oh.
onto that road?
This lot for sure will have to have its access off of that road. I'm assuming this one could come here. I'm assuming they'll go there.
Why don't we make them come out the other way where the other one is, and then their yard will go right out to the road?
And we could request that these lots front on this street right here, and then you'd get rid of that, and then we could just deal with.
Then you won't need a 10-foot strip that nobody's.
No, it'd just become basically a landscape strip that they would maintain that's within the public right of way.
Still have to be a landscape strip? Can be grass?
Yeah, or it could be rock or whatever. We could ask them to do that and make sure that they front there and deal with and have that landscape strip as part of their yards.
I think if we don't make it,
It'll
if
be-
we make the lot owners to take care of that, it'll never happen.
Right. That would be an easier suggestion.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
You ready to make a motion to that effect, Joe?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All right, let's make sure we capture that. So, motion by Joe and a second by Betty. we're just making sure that on those two lots,
Yeah, so we'll have these 3 lots front
Three
on
lots.
the 2710 East.
make sure we
Those,
capture
those
that.
lots are numbered, right? So can you just put the numbers on the record?
36, 37, and 38.
Yeah, got that, Christina? Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, item 70 is a request to approve a preliminary plat for a 16-lot residential subdivision called Painted Desert Estates Phase 7. Site is located approximately 1430 east, 2450 south. Property is 3.76 acres for density of 3.3 dwelling units and acre zone is PDR. This is part of the Painted Desert development. General plan shows this is MDR. Representative is Entz Homes. So this is River Road right here. Fort Pierce Wash is down below. I don't know, this is like clear to the west of the Painted Desert development. It's actually been sitting this way for about 12 years. The floodplain line used to extend through here like that, and it took them about 12 years to go through FEMA, 12 years or more, to go through FEMA to adjust the floodplain line right along here. So that's why it hasn't developed. These are pads with common area and private streets. They do lie within the erosion hazard boundary, so they'll have to do an erosion hazard study. And they will have to so this is common area, it leads down, but it'll lead down. There's an existing sewer main that runs along here. This will provide access for the sewer main and then a storm drain line for them. They have one right here, but they'll have to relocate it here as it will sit underneath a proposed rock wall. And then this would be open area too, with a storm drain line coming down here. There is a future multi-use trail that's shown on the master plan that runs along the backside of these lots.
So the reason we are okaying private streets is because the other phases had them?
Yeah, the whole rest of the development is with private roads.
So a motion that you'd make, you'd want to include that the requirement that they annex into the existing HOA, which should be fine. They know that.
Any other questions? Good one, Joe. All right, ready for a motion, and again, be good to include in that they would need to annex this subdivision into the adjacent Painted Deserts estate.
Motion to approve the preliminary plat for Painted Desert Estates Phase 7 and requiring that they do annex into the existing Painted Desert HOA.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy with a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Good job, Wes. Thank you. Okay, I think we're back to, Adam, what are we back to 6F, I think?
That's correct. A joint agreement with Rocky Mountain Power, and Scott Taylor's going to handle that one.
Scott, made you stay here this long?
For us.
So we have plans and we're trying to get a water line constructed from our Mill Creek wells, which is just north of the town, and we're going to go across, want to go across BLM property, across the Red Cliffs
Reserve.
Sacred land.
Reserve, the NCA, ultimately end up at the ledges. That'll provide a secondary or a second water source for us there, provide redundancy to the system. So we've identified an alignment that we want to take, and we've chosen an alignment that is already disturbed, and it's disturbed because we're paralleling a Rocky Mountain power line. And so we started the process with BLM to acquire a right-of-way for our water line. At the same time, Rocky Mountain is in the process. They want to upgrade their power system to be able to better feed the ledges area. So BLM's kind of asked us, and we've agreed it would be beneficial to both parties if we join forces and prepare one environmental assessment for both the water line and the power line rather than trying to do it separated. So this agreement is a joint project agreement, basically identifies the cost and how we're going to split the cost up and join forces to get this EA through the BLM.
You know the cost to the city?
What's that?
Do you know the cost is?
No, this is just the agreement that identifies how we are going to
Just
participate.
at that stage. Okay.
Rocky Mountain they'll be the lead agency on the environmental assessment document, so they'll hire a contractor to do that work for them. We'll approve the contractor, and the agreement spells out that we have a say in everything that they do. So it'll be a joint effort.
So there isn't already an environmental assessment for that power line that goes through there?
There's not. Well, there was for the initial power line, but since they're upgrading it, they have taller poles and a lot more infrastructure on the poles. So they'll be replacing their poles, and that requires an environmental assessment to do that.
Incredible. Mayor, I would like to move to approve a joint BLM environmental assessment agreement with Rocky Mountain Power.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Joe. Any discussion? Sean, we're good? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And I think, Adam, do you have any need for a closed session, by the way?
We do not.
Okay. I don't have any appointments today, so we're 2 minutes, I guess.
Right, we've got 5 sets of minutes tonight.
We do them one at a time?
You know, in the past, Sean's let us approve them together, but
As long as, we prefer you do them individually in case anyone has any objections to any of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes for December 19th, 2017.
Second.
motion by Jimmy, second by
Betty.
Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to approve the minutes for January 11th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Betty. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Motion to approve the minutes of January 18th, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Betty, second by Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Motion to approve the minutes from January 25th, 2018.
Second.
Oh, guys. Motion by Michelle, second by
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Motion to approve the minutes for February 1st, 2018.
Second.
Motion by Jimmy, second by Betty. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries unanimously.
I want you to know that I've read every last word on those minutes.
Good job.
It's
And you didn't have any changes, right? Christina does a fantastic job, by the way.
It's fine literature. I would suggest, if possible, we hold on reports from the mayor, council members, and city manager, because a couple of us need to try to amscray.
Except, may I just give a, last night was the Sweetheart Swing. And seriously, sometime you need to go. It was packed. There were probably 70 couples there. And the Red Hills dancers that do the swing music were incredible, were a lot of fun. And I recommended that they get rap tax money from the city of Washington.
Awesome. Any other reports? There is a Lincoln Day dinner Saturday morning. I have a few breakfast. Sorry, I'm thinking of last year. If anyone needs a couple seats, I have a couple. So, all right, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Michelle.
Second.
Second by Jimmy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Adam. Welcome. We were